You are watching Learn English with Shaukat Ansari by Dr. Muhammad Shaukat Ansari. Before I proceed, I would like to appeal to all of you that you subscribe to this channel and make this channel a huge hit with students. Believe me, this is a produce of my rigorous efforts, and this is my 85th teaching video, and all the teaching videos are concerned with several aspects of language skills, grammatical skills, spoken skills, and communication skills. Before I proceed, I would like to tell you that you subscribe to this channel, Learn English with Shaukat Ansari. Here in this special video, I am going to discuss understanding about Edward II or Edward II. Edward II is a brilliant tragedy written by Christopher Marlowe, and this tragedy is prescribed to the students of English Honours Degree 2 in Ellen Midla University, and keeping this point in my special view, I am preparing this video. Ideas about Edward II or ideas about Edward II. It's an established fact that Edward II is Marlowe's or Christopher Marlowe's masterpiece from artistic point of view. So if you observe Edward II from artistic point of view, you will discover that Edward II is Marlowe's masterpiece, Marlowe's brilliant creation. It is the structural trump. Here trump stands for victory, win. It is the structural trump of the dramatist of Christopher Marlowe, and in it Marlowe attains a dramatic unity which is absent from his earlier plays. In his earlier plays, I think Christopher Marlowe was not in a position to attain supremacy, attain accomplishment, but in this play he gets accomplishment. He is credited with dignity that this is a creation of artistic beauty. It has a better known neat plot which gradually. My dear lovely students, in this play at one stage you find that the king is able to defeat the rebel lords, but in the end he is defeated and finally executed by the treachery of his own disloyal queen. So in the beginning you find that the king is able to defeat the rebel lords, the rebel barons, the honorable dignitaries, and they are against the king, but in the beginning the king is able to defeat the rebel forces, but in the end, towards the end of the play, the king is defeated and finally executed by the treachery of his own disloyal Queen Isabella. So this is the gist of the whole play, that here there are conflicts between two forces, between the king and the rebellious lords, barons, and the king is finally defeated and he is executed. Edward II displays an artistic restraint which is absent in the earlier plays of Christopher Marlowe. There are no long tirades in this play, no lyrical outbursts. A critic, John Beckless, praises Marlowe And he says that Marlowe in this play Edward II overcomes for the first time his tendency to be carried away by the splendor of mere words. He has learned to restrain his love for resounding but bombastic lines. Here in this play, according to the critic Bakeless, Bakeless, that Marlowe has diverted himself, has derailed himself, has defeated himself, in the sense that he is not using mere words, bombastic lines, but other things also, thematic ideas also, thematic beauty is also in the play. My dear lovely students, Edward II is neither a soldier. Edward II as the king, he is neither a soldier nor a statesman. No doubt, he sometimes, the king, Edward II, sometimes exhibits nobility of human soul. Its essence doesn't lie in the spectacle of suffering that it offers to our views, but the nobility and greatness of the soul that is revealed to us through the process of suffering. It means the nobility of king is nowhere shown in the play. Of course, he is a good human soul, and in this play the suffering doesn't create a presentation of pity and fear. It doesn't make us realize that Edward II is a great tragedy. Every play is known for its theme, its plot, its characterization. The presentation of characters in the play. So it is the character of Edward II in the play that has marred the whole play from being a great tragedy. The character of Edward II doesn't establish the fact that Edward II or Edward II is a great tragedy. Edward II doesn't at all impress us as a tragic figure. He cannot be called a tragic figure in true sense of the term. In Aristotle's concept, he cannot be called a tragic figure. Edward II, the king, cannot be supposed as a tragic figure. The reason is he suffers because of his fond infatuation. Infatuation means likeness, interest. Because of his fond infatuation for his minion Gaveston. There is hardly any redeeming feature in his nature and character. What I mean to say that the character of Edward II as a king in the play doesn't impress us too much, so far the nature and his character are concerned. Of course, he insults his lords, his barons, humiliates the bishop, ill-treats his wife, acts on the advice of self-seeking opportunists. He is utterly weak and irresolute character. Here, the main points are that the king in the play insults his lords, insults his barons, humiliates the bishop, ill-treats his wife, and very interestingly and an important factor here, that he acts on the advice of self-seeking opportunists. He is not interested in the rule, in governance, but he seeks the advice, suggestions from the opportunists, and he follows. This is a great demerit in the king, And even the king insults his lords and he doesn't bother about it. He humiliates the bishop, he doesn't bother about it. And he ill-treats his wife. This is utterly rejected job. He ill-treats his wife, and being a king, he is not so wise, he is not so tactful, and he acts on the advice of self-seeking opportunists. It means in his character, the king is utterly weak and irresolute. Here I would like to remind to all of you that you must know about Shakespearean tragedies. The great tragedies of Shakespeare involve a moral conception, a conflict between good and evil, from which good ultimately emerges triumphant. So in great tragedies of William Shakespeare, you find that there is a conflict between good and evil, and ultimately good emerges triumphant. Ultimately good establishes its significance. This is commonly the patterns in Shakespearean tragedies, and in this way Shakespearean tragedies catch universality, present universality, and moral presentation is also there, is also instigated there, I am sorry. The basic of a great tragedy is this moral concept. But in Edward II, apparently there is no such high moral concept. We are not made to decide whether the king deserved his fate or not, nor are we led to be sorry for the queen or repelled by her treachery and cruelty. What I mean to say that in no way Edward II impresses us as a great tragedy. And we are not made to decide whether the king deserved his fate or not, nor are we led to be sorry for the queen or repelled by her treachery and cruelty. Edward II, next significant point I am elaborating here, I am illustrating here, elucidating here, that Edward II is also a product of a dramatist who was the real child of the newly emerging qualities of the Renaissance in Elizabethan England. I must tell you that when Edward II was writing his plays, the effects of Renaissance was everywhere in England. It was being ruled over by Queen Elizabeth. And in sequence or as a consequences, in Edward II, the spirit of the Renaissance is evidently seen. The play largely concerns with the spectacle of human life, the rise and fall of personalities, the supremacy of sensuous pleasures over royal duties. All these bear the influences of the Renaissance. The play deals with the spectacle of human life, an element of Renaissance. The rise and fall of personality, the element of Renaissance. The supremacy of sensuous pleasure, element of Renaissance again. What I mean to say that Edward II is a produce of Renaissance effects those days. Thanks for being with me, and I hope that you are deriving maximum benefits from my videos. Believe me, I do rigorous efforts, and that's why I would like to appeal to all of you that you try to make a huge hit with the students, and this channel must be popular among students. See you. Thank you very much.